The relationship we have to our increasingly digital world is ever changing, and understanding how to manage and define problematic use of everything from social media to video games, as well as gambling and pornography, is a major challenge for psychiatrists. Now, to discuss these issues, I'm joined by Dr. Mark Potenza and Dr. Sanya Bharani. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Now, some of the issues that we're talking about, gambling, pornography, social media, they're all distinct areas, so why are we taking them together?
One may think of these as distinct behaviors, but in many ways they intersect or overlap. So for example, the ways in which gaming and gambling intersect may be with respect to loot boxes or loot crates, which are elements within video games that are gambling-like elements. Similarly with gaming and pornography use and social media and pornography use, youth, for example, are often introduced to pornography through social media.
Gaming and social media are such large parts of everybody's lives these days. How does one see them as problematic?
They can be problematic in different ways. One way is in excessive engagement, problematic engagement that may be addictive.
Sanya, what does research tell us about the potential long-term implications of pornography on young people?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked because specifically referring to the youth that now lives in an era of the internet and has always grown up in the era of the internet. Online pornography is something that is ubiquitous almost, and variety is the name of the game, right? So having to consume that kind of content online oftentimes leads an individual to experience some sort of sensitization to various stimuli, wanting to have more and more of different things, placing sort of unrealistic expectation on a real human partner in the long term, besides having very obvious overlaps with more and more depression, anxiety, and resorting to all of these mechanisms or these ways of tackling stress in a high stress environment and keeping up with demands of daily life in a very maladaptive way.
We were talking a minute ago about addiction and social media. What are some of the challenges about talking to young people about addiction and social media?
I think that, and especially the country in which we live, and it's specific to the environments in which we function, right? I think that the problem is not being able to sort of decipher when it might lead to excessive use,
right,
and consume all of one's attention and time.
And what about companies themselves? What can companies themselves do to help?
I think that they can work together with regulators, work together with researchers to make data available so that we can understand the nuances of the impacts of their products on people.
My final question to you both is that a lot of these are fairly new developments. So what can psychiatrists do?
A first step is asking about the behaviors, asking about the behaviors in a non-judgmental fashion,
right,
and getting an idea of the extent to which people engage in the behaviors and the extent to which they may be impacting their physical or mental health.
I would just add that clinicians would serve themselves and their practices better by making themselves more acquainted with
right,
these kinds of new, as you defined, addictions, and not to disregard them, and to know their associations with various psychiatric disorders, which we already define,
right,
if everything is about creating a strict diagnosis, but just to be aware and to know the basic questions to ask as to elicit where these problematic behaviors exist in a clinical space.
Well, thank you both so much indeed for joining us. Really, really interesting, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.